Hey everyone, Mr. Lambert here. I am here to walk you through your Math Spiral and Review for today, Tuesday, September 1st, 2020. Today we're going to be dealing with fractions, decimals, and just basic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So let's get started. All right. So the first thing we have is a fraction, and we're going to make this fraction into a decimal. We're going to rename it, we'll say, and we're going to rename this fraction as a decimal. So remember, when you're renaming a fraction as a decimal, we simply use long division. Try rewriting the following as decimals. So take a second, pause this, and try working this out. Remember, you're just using long division. Pause the video here unless you need to see it one time through, but pause the video if you can and work that out. All right. Hopefully it took a second and did that. I'm going to show you here how we're going to work this out. So I've got 3 divided by 4. So this is going to look a little weird. Hopefully you did this if you worked it out on your own. You got the 4 outside your vinculum and your 3 is on the inside. Remember, this little house thing is called a vinculum. You can call it the house for now. I might get a little upset later, but we'll let you get away with that for now. All right. Now, of course, 4 can't go into 3. So we're going to put a 0 here to hold our place. We're going to put a decimal point because remember, after every digit, after every whole one, there is going to be a decimal point, and then you've got zeros going on forever, which hold the place for those tens, thousands, hundreds, thousands, all those things that you don't have behind your number. So I'm going to drop one of those placeholder zeros in there. Now, the cool thing is we can still use this because we have our decimal point here as a whole number. So how many times can I take 4 out of 30? Well, that's easy. I can do that. That is, if I know my 4 facts, I've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, just getting there, 24, 28, 32. So 28 is going to be my closest 7 times. I'm going to put my 7 here. I'm going to rock this out. I have 28. I'm going to subtract this out. And I'm going to get 2 left over here as I have to steal from my 3. There we go. All right. Now I still have a remainder, so I'm going to keep going up at least to my 100th spot, maybe my 1000th spot. That's generally how far I go when I'm working through my decimals, and we'll talk about why that might be a good place to stop here in just a second. So again, I'm going to drop this 0 down. Now I've got, how many times can I take 4 out of 20? Well, that's easy. I know my 4s again. 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. So 5 times exactly. And exactly means when I do this, I'm going to come out with a remainder of nothing. So ladies and gentlemen, here is your fraction, or here's your decimal that goes along with your fraction. 3/4 of something is also 75 1/100ths of that same thing. So that's how this will play out. You're going to have to be able to do this today in the independent practice as well. So make sure you're following along. If you need to rewind and watch that one more time, go for it. All right, we'll go on to our next slide here. All right, so we have the following. Need to erase here. Erase all my goodness. All right. Again, we're going to try this one more time. We're going to use our skills with long division to figure this out. So again, I've got 4 over 16. Pause this and give this a try. You've already worked one through with me, so I expect everyone to pause this one, give it a shot. If you don't do that, well, you might as well not be watching the video because you're not going to get anything out of it. And you're probably going to fail on the assignment coming up here in a little bit. So give it a pause, try it out, and I'll work it through with you in just a second. All right, here we go. So I've got 4/16. I'm going to rewrite this bad boy as 16 on the outside and a 4 on the inside because this is 4 divided by 16. All right, again, just like we did before, I'm going to have to put my decimal point in because I'll make this one big because I've got a little bit of messy screen here. 16 can't go into 4. It's too big. So I'm going to put a 0 there. 16, though, can go into 40, so let's start dropping zeros like it's hot. All right. So 16 into 40, I don't know that one off the top of my head, but I bet I can figure it out. Let's see. Well, 16 times 2 would be 32, and that's pretty close to 40, so I'm going to try that out. I think if I subtract that, I am going to get a number way less than 16. Actually, I'm going to get half of 16, which is, and I even got a minus sign there already. I'm going to have 8 left over. When I steal from here, sorry, I should write this out. Mr. Lambert's doing it all in his head. Bad habit. All right, I've got 8 left over. Now, I'm still can go a little bit further, so I'm at least going to go 2 more digits if I can, unless I come out with 0 as one of my numbers. I'm going to drop another 0 in and drop it down. Because remember, 0's gone forever over here, so we can keep going on with our long division until we want to stop and round it, or until we come to a stopping point with no remainder. So 16 into 80. I don't know my 16s that well, but I do know that, let's see, if this was 2 times 16, that would be, okay, so that's 2 times 16. If I did that 4 times, that would be 30. No, 32 is 2 times. So 4 times would be 64. Let's try 5 times. 64 is pretty close to 80, but I think I can go another whole time in. So 5 times 6 is 30. I'll drop my 0, carry my 3 over. 5 times 1 is 5, of course. Plus 3 more gives me 8. Hey, that is like the best, because we get a remainder of 0, ladies and gentlemen. That means our decimal that goes along with the fraction 4/16 is actually 25 1/100ths. If you didn't know, ladies and gents, that is actually also equal to 1/4. All right, let's get rid of this guy so we can move on to something new. All right, on to the next. All right, so decimals into fractions. This says, remember, every decimal is a fraction, and this is true. All you have to do is say the name of the decimal correctly. Try this, say the decimal name, and then write it as a fraction. So, ladies and gents, remember, this would be your 1 spot right over here, the 0. Sorry, we'll go back. Got to go back here. Problem is my back button hides underneath my pointer here. There we go. So we have, this is my 1 spot. Right next to my 1 spot, though, is going to be my tenths. And this then would be my 1/100ths. And when we say the name of the decimal, we use the furthest place out, and then we look at it like a whole number. So in this case, I would have 62, and the number of pieces I have here would be 1/100ths. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all you have to do in converting a decimal to a fraction. So we just take the number, we could write it out basically, throw your little line to show that this is a fraction bar, and then figure out what spot this is. That just goes underneath. It's always going to be a power of 10, so this would be tenths, hundredths, thousands, 10,000, so on and so forth. Every decimal that you will ever look at, you can rewrite as a fraction just by doing that. Let's erase this here and see what we can do with our next problem. I'm going to have you try one on your own. All right, so in this case, we're going to have one more spot, right? Well, if we had tenths, hundredths, this is going to be my thousandth spot. On a piece of paper in your head, go ahead and try to figure this guy out as a fraction. I'll give you just a second, then try it on your own. All right, so here we go. Well, I've got 182. Again, I'm just going to write this number just like I see it in my decimal, or in my fraction. Sorry, in my decimal. I'm just going to write the same number, and I'm going to put it over my furthest digit back, whatever place that's in. So this would be tenths, hundredths, thousandths. And ladies and gents, if you did not know, if I put any number over that power of 10, becomes what we just talked about. So this is 182 1,000ths. That's all you have to do for figuring this out. Now, the trick here is that it does ask me to do this now in lowest terms. All right, so 182 thousandths. Let's move on to our last set here. All right, operations review. Here we go. This is the easy stuff. Multiply, divide, and add. This is what we're going to work on today because we've gone over multiplication and division already. And our next thing, once we get past working with decimals and fractions and percentages and changing them all into one and another, we're going to go back into practicing addition of decimals. So let's get into some regular old addition and some multiplication and division. So here we go. First thing I've got for you is 321 times 27. I want you to rewrite that on a piece of paper. Try it out. We will go over the answer here in just a second, but try it on your own first. All right, guys and gals, so we have 321 times 27. I just rewrote it over here because, well, it's much easier that way. So the first thing we do when we multiply with multiple digits in our second factor here, we're going to start with our ones place. We're going to multiply throughout. So we're going to do 7 times 1 first, which of course is 7. 7 times 2, which will be 14. I'm going to drop my 4 down, and I'll carry a 1 up here. Make it little so it doesn't mess me up later. And 7 times 3, which is 21, plus my 1 that I had left over would give me 22. So 7 times 321 is what I've got for the first one, and that gives me 2,247. Let's move on to our next digit. So now I'm done with the set. I'm done with the ones, so I'm done with that 7 there. I can just focus on this 2. But remember, that's not a 2 because this number is 27. That means this is 20 or 2 tens. And to use this like a 1, all I have to do is drop a 0 in the ones place, showing that this is indeed a 10. And now I can treat it just like a 1. So I can just go straight on like I did before. 2 times 1 gives me 2. 2 times 2 will give me 4. And 2 times 3 gives me 6. Nothing fancy there. All we do is add these guys up. 0 times 7, of course 7. 4 plus 2 is 6. Hey, 2 plus 4 is also 6. It's the inverse of that same problem. And 2 plus 6 is 8. So you have 8,667. Again, that's probably about right because this would be somewhere right around 30 and this would be somewhere around 300. And if I get those together and multiply them, I should have something right around 9,000. And this is just a little bit less. Since this is less and this is a little bit more, I'm probably right in the right ballpark. All right. Let's try one more together. We got our addition here. So for addition today, I've got 2,391 plus 453. Go ahead and rewrite that out. I'll show you how in just a second if you've forgotten how, but go ahead and try that out on your own, and we'll go over the question here in just a moment. All right, guys, here we go. 2,391 plus, I'm going to put that, I was missing it up here, wasn't I? I'm going to put that in there just so that I keep my places lined up. It's good to keep your commas there so you know where you're working. Then 543 over here. And now I've got everything lined up. I can just, when I'm adding multiple digits, I just add straight down as long as I've got them lined up correctly. So my ones, I've got 3 ones plus 1 1 gives me 4 ones. My 10 spot, I've got 9 plus 4. 9 plus 4, well, one of those would go into here to make 10, and then have 3 left, so that would be 13. That's 13 tens, so I'm going to pull this over into the 100 spot. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 5 gives me 9. And last but not least, I've got nothing for my poor 2. He's just hanging out there by himself. I have 2,934. All right, almost done, guys. One last review problem. This one's probably going to be the hardest one we have today, but I know you can do it because we've been doing this for the last week or so. So I've got 712 divided by 14. 712 divided by 14. Go ahead and pause this video. Take a chance, do it yourself, and then we'll walk through it together when we are done. All right, here we go. Again, this number, the second number is actually what's going to go outside our vinculum or outside the house. So I'm going to put my 14 over here. And my dividend, the number that goes inside the house, is going to be 712. So I've got 14 as my divisor, 712 as my dividend. So we would read this 712 divided by 14, easy breezy. I can't take 14 into 7, so you can either put a 0 there if you'd like to hold the place, or you can just leave that blank, but know that you're going to be dealing with this next spot. Again, I've got a 71 over here, and I've got 14. I don't know my multiples of 14. I don't know many of my factors of 71. Actually, I'm pretty sure it might be a prime number, which means I can't do much with it with whole numbers. But I can estimate and figure out about how many times this should go into this. Now, if you were with me last time when I was dealing with 15s, those are pretty easy. This number is pretty close. In my head, I might think 15s, or you could think between 10 and 20. So I know that if my 14 was a 20 and I was going into 70, I could do that 3 times. If it was a 10, I could go about 7 times. That means my answer should be somewhere in the middle. Well, right between 3 and 7 would be 5. So let's give that a shot and see if that works. If it doesn't, no biggie, we can try something else. All right, so I've got 5 times 4, which will give me 20. Carry my 2. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 more gives me 7. Hey, look at that. I was pretty darn close on that one. All right, subtract this out. I'm going to get 1 minus nothing is 1. 7 minus 7 is 0. I'm going to leave that blank because for some reason, throwing the zeros in there really throws Mr. Lambert off. If you want to use that 0 as a placeholder, though, that is cool. It's totally up to you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've got 14 into 12. Of course, 14 is larger than 12. I'm going to put a 0 there. That would be 0 here. And, of course, I'm going to have the same remainder of 12. And ladies and gentlemen, unless we want to go on to that decimal thing that we've been working on, I'm not going to make you do that today. We're just going to leave that as 50 with a remainder of 12. All right. That's it for you for today for the review. If you need to watch this again, go back through and work through those types of problems one more time. I would suggest you do so because you're going to have a little bit of this in your independent practice today. Other than that, click on down to the next section here. We're going to be learning about percentages and how they relate to decimals and fractions. Good luck, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.